Kingdom Hearts 2, the literal consideration of the best Kingdom Hearts in the entire series so far as of this recording. Because who knows, Kingdom Hearts 4 might blow it out of the water. But my thoughts were, at least in terms of this video of making it, is how do I approach Kingdom Hearts 2? Because it is a really big game, as well as the fact that I was thinking of doing 358 over 2 days first, but then I thought, nah, we should follow like the release date. Kingdom Hearts 2 came out first, and there's so much to gather that I'm gonna have to simplify a little bit. I might have to make other videos if I want to go really in depth in things, such as like the worlds themselves, because there's so much that happens, and ranking them, because I think I might rank at least for sure the Kingdom Hearts main story worlds, not like something like Union Cross or Dark Road, like something where we go into those worlds and stuff. But for this one, like, Kingdom Hearts 2 is special because for some of my friends, it was their starting point. For me, it was right after I played Kingdom Hearts 1, so straight to Kingdom Hearts 2. Obviously, I was confused as hell because, well, Roxas, Sora's asleep. Like, a lot of context was cut off because I didn't play Chain of Memories, not until years later. But overall, I will say this from the beginning, it is peak. Like, Kingdom Hearts 2 is essentially the better version of Kingdom Hearts 1 in certain aspects. But it definitely hyped up a lot more of things. The villains are way more active and crazy, and it's just a lot of fun. So join me today as we go over Kingdom Hearts 2 review with Green Warrior 291, which is me. Let us begin. Let's start off with something a little more simple, because it's going to get really long as things progress. Music. The music department does not fail with Kingdom Hearts, and especially with Kingdom Hearts 2, because there is a lot of memorable things. Now, I did wanted to make one big note about this, because I am 100% confident someone's going to mention this. Kingdom Hearts 2 and Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix sorta has different types of music. Like, for example, Twilight Town, like, it has one version which is like from the OG vanilla Kingdom Hearts 2, and then we have the remix one. Like, we have stuff like that, and I kind of don't want to go over it because that's not exactly what I'm thinking here, since we're just using all of Final Mix version. But I did wanted to make a note that I am aware of certain changes and certain additions and stuff. And while, I mean, yeah, Classic One always wins, I still enjoy the other stuff. I definitely enjoy the music aspect. I mean, the music department never fails with Kingdom Hearts, so it's definitely a good listen. I'll play a few of the musics that I personally like from Kingdom Hearts before we like move on to the next section. For the gameplay department, I honestly think Kingdom Hearts 2 definitely improved in a lot of things. More specifically, it has a kind of more adventurous, more action-y kind of gameplay-ish. So by that, I'll show the visuals and try to explain it for those that are just listening in. But it definitely has a cinematic look to it. Like, a lot of the battling is high stakes. Even small fights with random Heartless feel like and big Avengers-like stuff, if I were to put it into words, or big action sets. Especially with some of the triangle/Y effects, wherever you click it and Sora does like something cool, and what would you call it? A reaction command. A lot of the big things come down to the reaction commands, which are pretty damn cool. I'm not gonna lie. Roxas has a few cool ones in his fights at the prologue. Sora has like so many of them. It's insane. You have like the drive forms, which is basically Sora being able to dual wield, which is, like I said, a step up, because Sora should realistically get more stuff as the games progress, more cooler things. And there's also the limit abilities, where you get to do stuff with Donald, Goofy, with literally any party member, and each one has their own uniqueness to it. So I really do like it, and like I said, it looks cinematic. So in the visual looks, it definitely, the gameplay has significantly improved, as well as the fact that there is a little complaint I'm going to have to say is the magic. Now, fire, for some reason, is this, just randomly a surrounding attack rather than a projectile, which is kind of a weird fucking thing. And I believe in Kingdom Hearts 3 they sort of refix that. You have Reflect, which is essentially kind of busted, especially once you get like to the higher versions of it, because its counterattack can be pretty lethal. I mean, it's not bad for us players, because we could use that to our advantage, but I mean, it's something. It's not as busted as, say, Balloon from Dream Drop Distance, but like I said, it's something. Now, the biggest criticism I'll have is Cure, like healing yourself. Because unlike in XIII, which definitely had where you can use specific magic for as many times as you want within the limit of how much bars you have of magic, this one, you use Cure, it uses up all your magic, and now you have to wait for it to essentially reload. And that can be very fucking annoying, because that essentially means you're out of magic for a while. Now, this game feels like the magic stuff is a second hand to the more combat. It feels like this one has a lot more focus on just smashing X or smashing A if you're playing on Xbox. And I don't know how to feel about that. Because even in XIII, like, yeah, you can just smash your way around. But it also felt like the magic stuff can be there as a way to fight as well. Like, a unique way to fight. This one feels like if you're going to fight with pure magic, I mean, you could do it. But it's mostly encouraged to use the other abilities, which is where my criticism lies. And, I mean, like I said, thanks to Kingdom Hearts 2, Kingdom Hearts 3 has the same issue where you use Cure. And, oh, look, your entire magic bar is gone for now. And I don't know, I really don't like that. I feel like it just kind of means you better hope that this Cure can keep you going for a bit, because otherwise you're about to be donezo. Now, for the gummy ship stuff, I will say they definitely revamped the way the gummy ship works, because realistically, you just have to go to the barrier or the thing that's blocking the path to reach the world once, and that's it. Any extra is just you doing you. But like I said, they went in a more cinematic route, and I can't lie, it looks fucking amazing. Now, granted, I kind of still prefer Kingdom Hearts 1's travel system and way of just navigating, as much as most don't really like it. But it's because it feels like adventurous. It feels like you're going on a big adventure. This one, I mean, it does. It looks amazing, don't get me wrong, and the worlds with their little uniqueness to it. It's not like 2D per se, but I don't know. In terms of that, I wish they did a mix of it, where you're kind of flying around. Something like Kingdom Hearts 3 did, which felt a lot more cinematic. Like, I feel like the cinematic stuff with the game, mixing it with gameplay, is what Kingdom Hearts really strives for. And honestly, like, I'm not going to diss on the gameplay. I think the gameplay improved in a lot of things. It just has a few little downgrades. But honestly, even the gummy ship thing, if we're just comparing Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, I think 2 has such cool visuals. I can't lie. Though I have a slight preference to Kingdom Hearts 1. But that's just me. Overall, I still think gameplay is 10 out of 10. Like, I may have my complaints, but it is still damn good. especially the drive forms. Like, look at the final form. This is so badass. And now, granted, though, I think I almost forgot to mention before I hit this section, it does require you to get rid of one of your allies. So if you don't have Donald, you don't have access to one of the specific drive forms. And if you don't have Goofy, you lose this one. Master is with both, and final form. And if you have no party members, then you're kind of just limited to limit form. So you need Donald and Goofy for it, which, I mean, makes it interesting because it's like, do you want to have the guest ally or do you want to have Donald and Goofy? Which one do you want? But like I said, overall, 10 out of 10. For the worlds, now I have to say, when it comes down to Kingdom Hearts 2, it definitely feels ridiculously big, and that isn't because there is a lot more worlds here compared to others. Like, there is indeed a good amount, and some I'll give you an example is Twilight Town, Hollow Bastion, Land of the Dragons, Space Paranoids, Timeless River, which is more of an extension of Disney Castle, Olympus Coliseum. Like, there is a good amount. I think there's like 13 of them, if I'm not mistaken. I'll put a number of how many right here. But the reason it feels very big, which ties to the story a little bit, is that you revisit the worlds again. Like, you go through, say, Agrabah, one of the more classic ones. You go there, it's the beginning of the second movie where Iago's trying to win back the trust because he genuinely wants to be on a different leaf. Just here is like, he's with Sora and the gang. They're trying to help him, essentially getting good with Aladdin, Jasmine, essentially everyone he screwed over in the first game. And yeah, in the second visit, it's related to Jafar. Like, Jafar is the active threat now. Or maybe something like Olympus Coliseum. You go there, you deal with a few things, you come back later on, which essentially helps out in helping Hercules get back his groove and become, well, Hercules again. Or Pride Lands, which is you first deal with the movie of The Lion King, and then when you come back, it's essentially the spirit of Scar, and just, it's a lot of things that really interest. Obviously, there's Atlantica, which I feel bad for it. It's not like it's bad, it's just the story makes no sense with the fact that in Atlantica, in the first game, you killed Ursula, and then in this second game, we're just repeating the whole thing and killing her with how the characters act like she didn't die or something. Like, look, if you want to do something like that, look at the example of Halloween Town. How it obviously did the whole movie thing, because the first game had more of an original thing. But Oogie Boogie was basically a threat still, but he came back and everyone acknowledged that, oh, he's just back again. And Atlantica, for some reason, they decided to do the Little Mermaid plot. Like, yeah, everyone complains about the, what's it called, the more gimmicky music stuff, which I don't mind it as much. I think it was more of an attempt, but I do feel like this world sort of ran its course after the first game. Like, there was no real reason to bring it back, considering that it kind of killed off the main villain. I think it would have been funny if they did the second plot instead. Because, you know, the funny line of Ursula's evil twin sister. Oh, man. That would have been more funny. But then again, they didn't do the plot where she goes to the surface and all that. And I guess they just should have done a better way at emphasizing that she just randomly came back after being defeated. I think that's the only criticism I'll give that. Port Royal was fun. Just Kingdom Hearts and Pirates of the Caribbean crossover. Obviously, Acre Woods, like the Winnie the Pooh stuff, like it still kept it, like you gotta look for the papers and stuff. And they do away with it in Kingdom Hearts 3, because, I mean, that's kind of a pointless endeavor again. But it's still pretty nice kind of playing through something simple, something not too chaotic. And obviously, The World That Never Was, the final stage of this game, is just perfect. It fits the aesthetics. If the first game's the end of the world was this whole thing of Ansem trying to destroy everything and plunge into darkness, The World That Never Was fits the whole point of this shouldn't be existing. Like, this is a world that should have never come to pass, kind of thing. And I genuinely think, like, the Kingdom Hearts 2 is the pinnacle of all Kingdom Hearts games in terms of worlds. It has so much variety, Like, I think Kingdom Hearts 1, the worlds were, like, really big. It was, like, actually big. And this one, they have a lot of sections and stuff. And the return to the worlds through the story stuff makes them even more lively. Even though I say Kingdom Hearts 3 has the best representation of the worlds because there's more NPCs and stuff, Kingdom Hearts 2 just has a lot more going for it. For characters, we will be going over each individual one because, I mean, there's just kind of a lot to go over. So let's start off with the main character himself, Sora. Now, for our main character, I definitely think he is pushed a bit more in this game. Like in the first game, it was clearly him obviously getting himself to become the Keyblade Master, the one that will save the world, and being back at it again after a year of sleep, because he won't remember the stuff from Chain of Memories. It is clear that he has a bit of a dilemma here, because throughout the story, it's obvious that he's trying to look for Riku. Like, he wants to bring Riku back home. And then eventually he learns about Kairi being captured by the organization, which pushes him more into not only wanting to save his friends, but in a dilemma that every time he takes out a Heartless, that heart, instead of being free, it goes to the organization. So now he's essentially helping them unwillingly, because he can't just let the Heartless roam around and do whatever they want, because that'll just cause harm to people. So he's put in one of those trolley issues. And it is nice to see that despite all of that, I mean, hell, he even begs because he cares about Kairi. He doesn't want Kairi to be captured. It puts Sora in one of the most toughest positions he's really ever been in. And it's just interesting how despite all of that pressure, he still pushes on, is positive, is still his, like, go happy self to an extent. And he's willing to, at the very least, help others. Hell, when him and Axel teamed up and Axel was disappearing, like, he genuinely was feeling sorry for him. He cared to an extent, because he understood Axel cares for Roxas, and all Axel's been doing is we want Roxas back. And it's just that understanding that really makes Sora one of my favorite main characters, because he genuinely just cares for others. Like, he's not gonna care for the villains. Not unless they show him something to care for, like Axel, who's redeemed himself to an extent. But however, someone like Xemnas or Saix, like, no, he doesn't sympathize with them because they've been doing so much. They didn't show any kind of way for him to even sympathize. But it is still crazy how much he cares for his friends and how he's willing to put everything he has to save his friends, which is what is amazing about Sora. Riku. I can't help but say that Riku has a one hell of an arc here. Because a lot of it is he's helping Ansem the Wise, the real Ansem, in his thing to take down the organization. We see a bit of his thing that he was defeated by Roxas, and that he became, well, Ansem. And the fact of the matter is, he's sort of been helping Sora along the way, but his whole thing is kind of like espionage. He's searching around, assisting Sora in the group, but mainly taking on the organization as the organization knows of him, and like how he's constantly kind of foiling their plans. And he's putting himself in the most darkest path, and by that I mean he's essentially doing things on his own. With Sora, he basically is doing things with Donald and Goofy with his friends. Riku is taking the more lonely path, and I mean, yeah, he's helping with Mickey and stuff because the two are doing similar things, but Mickey is like keeping up with Sora and the gang, while Riku kind of just keeps a distance. And he kind of knows that he's let himself into the darkness, and that it's kind of hard for him to essentially go back to his friends after everything he did from the first game. And obviously accepting the darkness is not viewed lightly. But Sora still accepts him, and he does eventually go back to being himself. And when he tries to do a corridor of darkness, he can't, because he no longer belongs to the darkness. He is now a part of the light. Although he does use dark abilities, those are more unique to him. He is unique in that sense. Although that is more explored in Dream Drop Distance, I do have to say that Riku is probably the thing that holds the story, because Sora realizes, oh, we still have to find Riku. So he goes searching for him, which obviously leads to the whole, oh, Kairi's captured by the organization, which adds a whole different layer to Sora's journey. But Riku here, like, this is more of his own solo journey of trying to help, but also walk a more dangerously lonely path. It's not until they all, like, converge in the world that never was that we finally do get Riku and Sora reuniting after they're, like, them being separated due to the events of Kingdom Hearts 1. But yeah, I mean, Riku really had a glow up, if that's one thing I can say. Kairi. Now, unfortunately for Kairi, she goes back to being the damsel in distress. Now, she does tie into Roxas's thing a little bit, because the interesting part being that Sora was sort of forgotten by everyone due to the events of Chain of Memories. And as Kairi is starting to remember Sora, she writes the letter, which we do see at the end of the game. Her role is that she wants to bring back Sora and Riku back to Destiny Islands, because she got to live a whole year in a more peaceful thing, unlike Riku, who was dealing with his things with the organization, and then Sora had a long-ass nap. Unfortunately, she gets captured by Axel, which leads her to manage to escape, actually, first, because that's how she ends up in Twilight Town, and then she does officially get captured by Axel, and then she does escape him again, only to get captured by Saix and end up a prisoner in the world that never was, the organization's headquarters. Which, I mean, I feel bad, because later on, whenever Kairi is with Riku and Riku gives her a Keyblade, like, she genuinely wants to be a fighter. She doesn't want to be the princess that needs to constantly be saved. She wants to actually help her friends, which is a little more of a growth. I do go a little more over it in the Kairi video, but to kind of sum it up here, it's more of her slightly starting to transition from just being a damsel in distress, a friend that can support Sora and Riku from the sidelines, into wanting to be a part of the one that's fighting alongside them, being a fighter side by side with them, which, I mean, is very amazing, because, I mean, Kairi, she does show she's capable. She fights a few Heartless. She does get beaten because she obviously is not a trained fighter, and yet, I mean, she is willing to step up to be a fighter when she needs to. So, I mean, Kairi has one hell of a glow too. Roxas. Now, obviously, we are trying to do the context of no 358, since the only thing we got about Roxas was the snippet after the post-credit scene of Chain of Memories for both Riku and Sora. So I'm going to try to keep it strictly there, because if we add the 358 over 2 days, that kind of adds a little more tragedy than we want it to be, because it's already tragic enough as is. Because Roxas is just living his life. He's just doing Twilight Town things. He's the Prologue guy. And unfortunately, during his, like, when he's sleeping and stuff, he gets the memories of Sora, and we get this whole thing that he is Sora's nobody. And that is a big key factor in a lot of things, because the whole point about nobodies is they're basically a version of the main body. And Sora had his Heartless that was defeated by, well, Kairi saving Sora from remaining a Heartless. And because he had a strong heart, Roxas was created. And it is a tragedy with Roxas, because a lot of it is that people would say, at least to Sora, that they remind him of Roxas. They call him Roxas a lot. And it could be said that it is the inverse for him, because a lot of it is that he wants to fight Sora. He is like his own person. Because Ansem the Wise, or Deez, is constantly kind of implying that he is just a nobody. He's someone that is essentially Sora. But Roxas's thing is about he is himself. Upon getting his, like, real memories back, and obviously having to constantly fight Axel, and eventually fight Axel, because Axel kind of views that Roxas no longer remembers anything, so what's the point of even trying to save his friend, which is tragedy already. Roxas's iconic line of,
"Looks like my summer vacation is over,"
is a tragedy, because Roxas really, without, like, having the amnesia, having a regular life per se, really just got thrown into the mix and kind of gave up his existence in a sense. He returned to Sora. He is a unique nobody because he wasn't struck down by the whoever in order for the original to return. No, he returned willingly back to Sora. And yes, when they had their whole confrontation and all, it is shown that obviously Sora is a lot stronger, and I mean, he does overpower Sora, but Sora is able to kind of counter back. And yeah, I do find the line he says to Sora very interesting. And then the conversation again of how him and Namine have returned to Sora and Kairi, essentially saying that they can still all hang out together. Like, Roxas will always be with Namine so long as Sora is with Kairi. So I do find it interesting that Roxas is a special kind of nobody. He isn't like the others that, well, their selves are defeated and stuff. No, he was able to return to Sora without being, well, destroyed, essentially. But it is still tragedy in the sense that Roxas did not have it well. And obviously, if we count the 358 over 2 days game, it is even more tragic. But it's already more tragic enough in Kingdom Hearts 2. I don't think I have to add any more tragedy to what it is Roxas. Namine. Now, with Namine, she is a witch of sorts. She is obviously a lot more prevalent in Chain of Memories. But here, like Roxas, she only has more of an importance in the prologue and then right towards the end. But the interesting thing is that in this game, it does obviously tells that Kairi is Namine's, or Namine is Kairi's nobody. Like, just similar to Roxas, Namine was able to return to her original person without being destroyed. And unlike with Roxas, that his potential is with the Keyblade, Namine has special abilities of using, memories and stuff. We don't see that a lot here, but we know that she is sort of responsible for trying to get Sora back all his memories, because everything is still in Roxas. And she is essentially one of the motivators for Roxas, as the two do grow a bond. And it's kind of more sad, because unlike with Roxas's tragedy, Namine kind of didn't get a lot to kind of go over. Like, she basically tells Roxas that he won't disappear, that he'll return to Sora, back to, where he belongs. And that's as far as we see of her. And then after that, she does help with Kairi's escape, and she's with Kairi for the most part, until she does return to Kairi at the very end of the game, when Roxas and her return back to their original people. And even at the very end of the epilogue stuff with the final cutscene, we see that because they're back with who they're supposed to be, now they can fully be together, like Roxas and Namine, so long as Sora and Kairi are together. And it is kind of a wholesome end, if anything, because Namine was used as one of the puppets in Chain of Memories. And here, I mean, yeah, we don't see a lot of her, but she was for sure freed. And that is a lot thanks to Sora. Now, the one thing that's missing is that Sora has to accomplish thanking Namine for, well, he doesn't know why, but for the events of Chain of Memories. Now, for Axel, he's definitely one of the more interesting cases, because he's kind of an antagonist, to a sense, only because he's trying to help Roxas remember who he was. Roxas does start to remember, and just as it seemed like he thought, oh, my friend is back, and his hopes kind of went down the drain, it kind of showed that, oh, well, I guess I'm going to have to do what I was told, which is to kill Roxas, because that's what the organization had sent him to do. And it's kind of a tragedy in the sense, a lot of these are definitely tragedies if it ain't the main characters, because essentially a friend has to fight a friend, and yeah, Axel loses, but he's not fully dead. Similar to Chain of Memories, he seems to avoid death. And yeah, his next goal is, well, how do I bring back Roxas, because he's back with Sora, and Sora's all over the place again. Well, I gotta pull him out. I gotta use Kairi to try to get Sora to lose his heart. Or he had a plan, it didn't work, because obviously Kairi escaped them multiple times, Saix caught her, and it clearly caused a bunch of fucking issues. But at the end of the day, whenever Sora was obviously needing help, Axel comes to help, and he uses an ability that's a bit overkill, because it does kill him in the end. But it kind of shows that, he views Sora like Roxas, and he doesn't want to show that emotion, so he kind of just go, and he kind of fades away, but for good this time. And, it's interesting, because when people beat him, he tends to somehow survive it. However, when he goes out in his own terms, that's when he's dead. And I find it funny because that's basically Axel's motto. It's like, it's got to be done through his way. I mean, it sometimes doesn't work, but hey, I mean, Axel has got the most memorable quote, and that is,
Got it memorized. Got it memorized. Got it memorized. Got it memorized. Still got it memorized.
because honestly, Axel, I mean, he kind of drove a lot of the part of the story, because without, like, Kairi, honestly, the organization had nothing on Sora, and obviously, without him doing that, Kairi would not have reunited Sora and Riku, because Sora viewed Riku as Ansem. Like, he was caught off guard that Ansem's back, the one that he fought in Kingdom Hearts 1, and would have assumed that the whole time, and Riku was just gonna allow it for whatever fucking reason. And yeah, Kairi kind of brought it all together. So in a way, Axel, in an unintentional way, had assisted the main characters. It's just in a very different aspect than what he originally wanted to do, because he was trying to do things for his own selfish reasons. But the moment he actually finally wasn't selfish was unfortunately by the end, when he essentially kamikazed himself. But I mean, hey, that's just, it is what it is. Saix. Now, this is an antagonist. Although Xemnas is the main villain of Kingdom Hearts 2, Saix has to be the one that instigated a bunch of shit. Because obviously, outside of capturing Kairi and all, he definitely was the one antagonizing Sora the most. Hell, he made Sora go to his knees and beg for him to let go of Kairi. And the dude said no. Like, he legit was wanting Sora to kneel just to tell him no. Like, this dude is the definition of just pissing people off. Of just completely saying, I'm gonna make you do something just to be a dick. And yeah, Saix is probably the most active one. Like, Xemnas is more of a passive villain, but he's still like the leader and all that. But Saix is the hardest worker out of all of them, as he is the one that really pissed off Sora the most. Well, no, Larxene obviously pissed Sora the most, that is like for sure. But since he doesn't remember her, that doesn't count in this case. So Saix is the one that antagonized Sora the most, and essentially put him in a deadlock when he basically revealed to Sora, like, keep killing Heartless for us so we can complete Kingdom Hearts. And yeah, when they fought him, like, he genuinely was trying to look for a heart. Like, once he was defeated and all, he basically looked at Kingdom Hearts and was asking, where is his heart? So it's almost like he is basically evil, yes, but he wants to have a heart. Even though it's kind of weird to explain that in the character section, but it's just, he is an antagonist for sure. He is one of the most interesting antagonists, because outside of just being a complete dick to Sora, he definitely obviously put a lot of pressure on Axel too, and ruined his plans of what he was even trying to do. So, I mean, it's an interesting thing. It's just, if he was now the main villain, I mean, he would definitely be higher on the list on things. But in terms of who was the best villain, because, I mean, imagine if Xemnas was the one doing this shit. It would have elevated him as way more of a threat, but I'm still fine with it. Saix is more of the hard worker, middle manager, while obviously Xemnas is more of the co-owner and stuff, essentially having his minions do things, with Saix proving himself to be one of the top minions. But yeah, I mean, he is one hell of an instigator. We gotta give him that. Mickey Mouse. Now, although in the first game we don't see barely anything of him because outside reasons, and then the Rechain of Memories, it's essentially he's a little bit more in the components of Riku's story than Sora's. Here, he's definitely around. He is more or less of an ally, someone to give information here and there, and also to inform the heroes, which is Sora, Donald, and Goofy, what is essentially going on. So he's kind of an informant, but he's also doing his own thing, trying to stop the organization, and eventually he does run into Diz, which is Ansem the Wise. And yeah, we get a lot more information on things, as well as the fact that Ansem is not really Ansem. And I do find that entire conversation hilarious, how they're trying to lecture Mickey that this is Ansem, which is essentially Xehanort, which we shouldn't really go over into that yet. But it is just funny how we have fake Ansem, real Ansem. And I just find the corrections really funny. But yeah, I mean, Mickey doesn't really play the biggest role of things. He is essentially there. He doesn't play more of a role until like later on where we see a little more of him. But here he's still like active per se. He still gives important information. And he's essentially the key in a lot of aspects of Riku's story. But overall, I mean, it's nice to have Mickey a little more than in the first game, if anything. Alright, so Ansem the Wise, Diz. He is obviously not shown enough because he is obviously working to stop Xemnas from completing Kingdom Hearts and stuff. But all of his research, everything he has done, is sort of his fault, which also domino effects into Kingdom Hearts 1, how his whole research inspired Xehanort to take over and become Ansem and Xemnas. And that whole mess, obviously, he blames himself for. So it's essentially, he was studying the heart, the heartless, and everything kind of falls to him. So all of the Ansem reports are based from Kingdom Hearts 1, are from him, and to an extent. And then, obviously, the reports we get from this game, obviously tied to him as well. Which, I mean, it is insane how this one character sort of just domino effects mainly the story here. Because without his assistance to Xehanort would not have gone, like, to the whole heartless stuff, hearts, and all that fun stuff that kind of domino effect into Sora, Riku, and Kairi getting sent off Destiny Islands, and so many other things. Now, obviously, Birth by Sleep sort of tells us who was the real important one that tied everyone together. Or, I guess, Union Cross as well, to an extent, but that's going beyond the scopes of Kingdom Hearts 2. Kingdom Hearts 2, Ansem the Wise had a lot to do with it, and he did try to stop Kingdom Hearts, and that kind of also caused him to kamikaze himself. So almost all the characters who had guilt and stuff end up kamikazing for some reason, but it still is interesting that he was able to temporarily stop Xemnas and was able to free a lot of the hearts and stuff, which bought enough time for Sora and the others to stop Xemnas. But yeah, I mean, even with the little bit of screen time he gets, he's still such an important character because, I mean, he obviously is helping Mickey and the others in the background, in the shadows, and he stops Xemnas temporarily. But, I mean, damn, he really went out in an interesting way. That's all I'll say to that. Okay, so for the organization, I think I'll just play like this. Since half of them got wiped out in Castle Oblivion, a lot of them here are antagonists to Sora and the crew. They basically are in different worlds, essentially harassing those worlds. And yeah, Sora, and Donald, and Goofy were able to take them down each. I think the major one you could say that is the most important to have paid attention was Xigbar. He seems to be the most biggest a nuisance to Sora and the gang. And the one that basically kind of informs him in relation to Roxas, which is a whole different discussion on its own, and especially with how Kingdom Hearts 3 does things with Xigbar. I have to say, I mean, each of them have their own unique personalities, at least those in this game. They have their different focuses, and they push the plot along of those worlds to an extent. And it's just an interesting thing on how each of them sort of play. Like Xaldin. Xaldin's obsessed with the beast. We get a little more information in 358, but here he basically is the Gaston. He's the one that's pushing things along and trying to take out the beast once, obviously, they start fighting one another. But it is still interesting to have different kind of characters. Demix is essentially the non-combatant one, the one that doesn't really fight normally and is a cheap piece of shit. Anyway, he has his own personality. Obviously, Luxord is more of the card guy, the one that essentially knows the rules of pirates, and it's kind of funny because he's essentially a wild card, unintendedly funny, but it's just each of them have their own gimmicks, and that's what makes it interesting for, like, as an organization, for each of them to be able to do something that isn't just, we're just a different character, but with a similar moveset. No, they each have a unique moveset to their own, which is pretty damn cool. As for personality, obviously they're kind of different in different ways because they tackle different worlds and they tackle different problems differently, and it's just a pretty interesting thing how the organization, at least for these characters in Kingdom Hearts 2, is made up. Now, for the man, the myth, the boss of Organization 13, Xemnas. He's pretty much calm. He's similar to Ansem. He gives similar vibes of being the big threat. But unlike with Ansem, who seems to be taking a more active role, Xemnas seems to be taking a more passive role. Like, he does give his leadership and stuff, his opinions, but he doesn't really do anything of big substance until the very end. Once Ansem had destroyed Kingdom Hearts, and he's there obviously having to face off against Sora and everyone. And I gotta say, I mean, I am pretty much intrigued by Xemnas' approach to things. Because clearly he is strong. Like, he legit is able to kind of put everyone in such a big defense mode. And this is outside of the gameplay aspect. Like, he obviously is annoying to put down, similar to Ansem. No matter how many times they get their asses handed to them, they just come out with some other bullshit in order to stay afloat, to still keep fighting until the bitter end. But that's when he finally is active. But unlike with Ansem, Xemnas is kind of not as active as one would think. Like, obviously 358 is different and all, and I keep bringing that up because I want to make it clear. Here in Kingdom Hearts 2, he is just giving the orders. He's just there listening, kind of letting the others do their parts. However, he is also kind of paying attention to what's going on and stuff, and only active once he finally has to, which is at the very end once they are basically confronting him. And I mean, yeah, he's a pretty cool boss. Like, let's not get that wrong. It's just he's more of the passive one. If Ansem was the more active one, Xemnas was the more passive one out of the two. Which, I mean, isn't bad on its own, but, I mean, it is what it is. Overall, when it comes down to the characters, I obviously love how so many things, so many factors kind of play into, but a lot of these are tragedy. Sora obviously pushed to his limits in this game. Riku taking such a very, very lonely path, and if it wasn't for Kairi, which could have honestly has one hell of a development from just being the damsel in distress to finally sort of showing hints of gonna be a contender for an ally that can fight side by side with. It is just so much. I think this is like way bigger than Kingdom Hearts 1, which is expected. You want the next game to be bigger and bigger when it comes down to character arcs. But yeah, I mean, obviously each character feels like they have reached their conclusion of sorts, because you could see Kingdom Hearts 2 as a natural conclusion to the story, but that's a story thing we'll get to. But for characters here, I really enjoy it. I think this is still like peak character development, so 10 out of 10. For the story, this is such a big story. I'm gonna have to sort of put this into separate parts because there's too much to tackle. This game is ridiculously long for a reason. So we're gonna kind of do an interesting aspect of things. So for this one is going to be the prologue. For the prologue section, I gotta say, like, it is such an interesting thing that it's all focused in Twilight Town, focused on Roxas, which at the time, you didn't really know much of him, but you knew, like, he was connected to Organization 13 thanks to Axel, and all of the whole mystery stuff and all the weird shit that's happening is intriguing up until you realize that's just the digital world. Roxas was never there. He had fake memories, and essentially, he kind of had the short end of the stick in a lot of things. And then moving on to, like, the first official phase of the story, you have basically Sora awakening in Twilight Town, him meeting Yensid in the tower, and eventually finally heading off into the journey that is to search for Riku, stop the organization, and yeah, I mean, first of all, Hollow Bastion, which is Radiant Garden later on. Interesting thing to kind of get us back to characters we knew, we cared about, and going through all the different worlds with all different kinds of problems, some of them plagued by the organization, some of them plagued by their own issues, and then obviously Maleficent coming back because something to do with like being remembered again. And yeah, Maleficent's kind of not even active now that I think about it. She is active here and there, but she's not even a main antagonist. But that's funny because honestly, she does help Sora and the gang later on, and is even having to essentially go against the organization because they're more of a problem to her than Sora in his group, which is an interesting thing. And obviously Pete. Pete is a nuisance too. Like, he is genuinely one of the biggest nuisances to deal with, because you have the organization and the Heartless and the Nobodies, and now you have Pete, which you gotta admit is kind of funny. But most of the first phase is essentially going through all the worlds for the first time, helping them out, unlock the keyholes and stuff, and essentially kind of just keeping things up normal to an extent, like doing the normal thing. Go to a world, they're looking for Riku, and it's not until later on that they'll look for Kairi in an attempt, but mostly it's look for Riku, which is similar to the first game, that Sora was looking for Riku and Kairi, while Donald and Goofy were looking for Mickey. So nothing really changed up until like the second part, when you go back to Radiant Garden. You go into the Tron world, you basically are trying to help, like, get that fixed, because it's, like, the whole defense system of Hollow Bastion, and then the big war against the Heartless that were all being gathered, and against a bunch of organization members. Goofy apparently dying in one hell of a hit, and then coming back because he's constantly gotten his head hit a lot, so he's sort of immune to blunt damage to that. And I do like this moment because this is the time when Mickey finally shows to be active and he's super mad. And yeah, I mean, you have so much going on in this fight. Cloud and Leon fighting side by side or back to back and just fighting Heartless. Like, it is one of the most chaotically fun moments. Sora, Donald, and Goofy, or I guess mainly Sora if I remember, fighting shit tons of Heartless. Like, this is where everything kind of goes into such chaos, until the whole reveal where Maleficent helps them escape, and then they run into the problem that, well, the more Heartless they take out, the hearts go to, well, to the organization, and they're collecting all the hearts. So unlike with Ansem, who was essentially going through all of the worlds and consuming them in darkness in order to unlock Kingdom Hearts, this way is more of collecting all of the hearts of people. So one was the worlds, the other one is the people of the hearts being collected. And yeah, this put a lot of wrench into things, before obviously Sora has to contend that he needs to still take out the Heartless. They still need to be taken down. And obviously they go back to the other worlds again, this time a little more armed once they go back to Twilight Town, that Kairi was captured by Axel. So there's that whole issue, which, I mean, it kind of leads into the big fight, because this is before, now that I think about it, before the war against the Heartless and all that chaos that I spoke of. But yeah, essentially now they go back to other worlds with that armed. They go and help out all the other worlds again, because there's other issues that are kind of being thrown. And then there's obviously Hollow Bastion stuff. Once more, that has 3 visits that are important, that lead, well, with the Tron one being the most important, that lead into everyone remembering the original name of Hollow Bastion being Radiant Garden. And once completing everything is when we lead into the final part, once they like go into the mansion, go to the data world, and obviously Sora has this fight with Roxas in the world that never was. That's where the final phase of the story kind of goes into. Now, for the final phase, the big final conclusion to everything being at the world that never was. Here is where things kind of go a little more into finally taking out like some of the big guys. Luxord being one of the big guys, Saix being one of the last ones, and then Xemnas himself, and Xigbar as well. I almost forgot about this fucker. And this is where everything starts to collude together. You have Kairi being saved by Riku, as well as Namine being saved by Riku. You have them, Sora, Donald, and Goofy, Sora reuniting with Kairi. And obviously, it's funny because in one of the worlds, in the Halloween town, Sora imagines himself dancing with Kingdom Hearts 1 Kairi. He hasn't realized that Kairi's grown up into what is essentially Kingdom Hearts 2 Kairi. And it's just a nice little meeting before we see Sora sort of break down into, after finding Riku, once realizing that Ansem is Riku, it is Sora finally having found his friend after a long while, after a long journey here. And
I mean, keep in mind, the last time these two officially met was after Riku and Sora had their big fight against each other, and then Riku got possessed, and then Riku essentially sacrificed himself to be on the other side of the door to darkness, which, I mean, it is a whole kind of sequence of events, and that's the last time he saw him. And then there was the events of Chain of Memories that he doesn't remember, and then after all of what he's done through Kingdom Hearts 2, he reunites with his friend. So it is a bit more emotional for him, especially with someone that is his childhood friend, who he's like been with for a long time. And yeah, I mean, Kairi, he's been confident enough to like be happy that she is saved. It's just with Riku, because originally Sora assumed that Kairi was safe. That's why he was obviously so caught off guard when it is revealed that Kairi isn't safe. It's just with Riku, I mean, he can take care of himself, but he definitely cares for Riku. He's obviously happy to see him, and a bit over emotional, if anything. But that is on this whole different side stuff. Because after this whole thing, after Ansem sacrifices himself and Riku reverts to, well, Riku just a little more badass, you do have them having to be like, oh shit, there's so many Heartless, what do we do? Pops up Maleficent and Pete. And obviously, they don't want to side with Sora and the gang, but in this case, they hate the organization a little more. So Maleficent essentially is only allying herself with them because the organization are more of a problem, as well as the fact their nobodies are way more superior to the Heartless. So there's also that problem. And she trusts that Sora and the gang can essentially take care of Xemnas. And yeah, I mean, all of this chaotic thing kind of culminates into Sora having to defeat the organization, which is the biggest threat in this whole game. And it's interesting because in the first game, you definitely have all of the villains working together being an actual big threat. Because imagine that. If all the villains work together against Sora, that version of Sora, I do not think he would actually be able to come out unscathed. If anything, he might actually lose. But here, the organization are way more superior to that. So, I mean, yeah. It comes down to fighting against Xemnas and stuff, and by the end of the story, like, once they defeated it, Sora and Riku end up in the realm of darkness and stuff, and Sora reads the letter that Kairi had sent, and then the door to light kind of pops up, and they're able to go home, and we have one hell of a conclusion that Sora finally is back at Destiny Islands. He's finally back home, and Kairi basically saying that he's home is just wholesome. Like, this is just amazing. And obviously, to basically conclude this section, is that I do think that when it comes down to the story, it is so enormous, there's so many things going on, that it kind of surpasses so many people's expectations, that unfortunately Kingdom Hearts 3 suffered on that issue. Because how do you top that? And with Kingdom Hearts 3 is conclude every single other game that has a different storyline still kind of left open. Because Kingdom Hearts 2 sort of concluded a lot of the Sora, Riku, and Kairi to an extent storylines. The Mickey storyline that he hasn't returned back home, because now he has returned home. And, I mean, there's so much to really say on that. It's just insane, because it's a very big freaking game. Hell, even the book version is so freaking big. There's 3 big books, and then the manga is fucking enormous. This is just such a big story. It's insane. But yeah, I mean, it is deservedly a 100 out of 10 story. Like, it's just, you can't argue with this. Kingdom Hearts 2 as one of the best stories in the Kingdom Hearts series. It's just a matter of fact. Now, when it comes down to the final boss, Xemnas, like I did with like the Ansem stuff where his final boss was for the Kingdom Hearts 1, I think with Xemnas, I do like the whole thing that you fight him alone 1v1, and then obviously he kind of is a bitch and decides to, no, if you really want to defeat me, go through this door, similar to how Marluxia was, the little coward. And then when you go through the door, obviously everyone gets separated, so you have Sora, Riku, Donald, and Goofy having to fight off a dragon-ass thing, and then once they get to the actual head, they have to fight what is a weird-ass looking knight that is essentially Xemnas, just sitting down in his throne, which is kind of funny because honestly, he's so passive as a villain. Even his boss fight is just passive, at least there. And then once they thought they have defeated him, oh nope, here he comes again. Just Sora and Riku this time, just with a giant ass dragon now. And you have to fight that, and you have to fight his passive stuff again. And then once you defeat that, you have to fight Xemnas again in whatever the fuck this place is, in the nothingness, I think. And it's just, it's absurdly funny in some aspects. However, it is just the epicness. Like with Kingdom Hearts 1, it was already epic with how intense the fight is, especially with the fact that it's do or die here. And Sora had to fight alone at the beginning, and then when you free Donald and Goofy together, the three of them were able to defeat Ansem. Here, it's just, they were defeating him, he separated everyone, and just Sora and Riku, and the two of them together with the bond of friendship were able to overcome whatever Xemnas threw at them. And once Xemnas, I guess he finally got off his ass and actually is trying, he put a lot of effort. Like, a lot of it is cinematic. Hell, there is this one area which is just the spamming of buttons to essentially make sure that you can deflect every single thing, and then the cinematics of just Riku getting hit, and then just as Sora is about to get hit, Riku protects Sora and gets hit. Sora takes Riku's Keyblades and just pummels the crap out of Xemnas. And then with the combination of the two, like touching one Keyblade together, so empowering that Keyblade to fire a beam right at Xemnas' chest. And then you basically watch him disintegrate, like finally be defeated. No big grandiose thing like it was with Ansem, that he's basically like, the light, why? And then he gets like wiped out because Kingdom Hearts turned to light thanks to Sora. No, this one he didn't have any words. Like, he was just done for and disappeared. And then, I mean, it is probably, like, obviously, I will always love the Ansem boss fight from Kingdom Hearts 1, but Xemnas' boss fight in Kingdom Hearts 2 is just fucking peak. It is the pinnacle of boss fights. Now, there is obviously a thing as such as secret bosses, and when it comes on to Kingdom Hearts 2, there is the data battles, which are, I mean, they're just the versions of the Kingdom Hearts 2 boss fights you already fought, but just extended into super freaking hard mode. And then there's the ones that were defeated in Castle Oblivion. That's a nice little touch to essentially bring them back into the mix. And then you have a Lingering Will. Now, before we get to Lingering Will, I think the data battles are fun. I think they genuinely just put, let's make this even hard. So imagine if you're playing on critical mode and you beat them and they're already hard. Just throw another battle against them. Just make it even more harder to fight. Now, I do like it because I guess this is them showing, like, what their potentials are for those that you've already fought, like how crazy things would go. Although, honestly, it's just the same thing, just added a little more difficulty. Especially with the Xemnas stuff where you have to fight him in 2 fucking phases, which is a little bit annoying. Because if you lose on the second phase, like you beat him in the first phase, but you lose the second, you gotta redo that whole fucking fight all over again in the first phase. So it is a little bit annoying. But for the other organization members, it's just nice, I guess, to be able to fight them and show how their fights would be in Kingdom Hearts 2. Because, you know, people complain about the card game system from Rechain of Memories. I personally don't really mind it as much, but obviously it's not going to work if you move them here. So it is nice to see what a version of them would have looked like if Rechain of Memories went the more regular route of gameplay. But now for Lingering Will. Now, this fucker is annoyingly hard only because he is the most unpredictable piece of shit ever. It's similar to the Yozora issue from Kingdom Hearts 3, where depending on what move he does will depend on how fucked you are. And by that I mean the Yozora one, if he does the stupid disco ball, you're fucked. At least that's how it was with me. I don't know if you fuckers actually managed to handle that. But for Lingering Will, he lives up to the name of just being one of the toughest secret bosses, because the dude is just a menace. He's just aura farming and he beats your ass. Like, he doesn't hesitate to beat your ass. And I mean, it's funny up until it isn't, because my god, is it just such a nuisance. Like, there's ways to cheese it and all, but you just one tiny fuck up and you're done. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it is fun and all, but the stress is insane. What can I say other than the fact that Kingdom Hearts 2 is a big fucking game? And obviously the review itself is warranted to be a bit long. Now, could I made it longer? Yes, but I'm in only one editor and I can only do so much. But I covered what I really wanted to cover. And I genuinely think that Kingdom Hearts 2 is such a big, annoyingly big upgrade to Kingdom Hearts 1. It just improves on a lot of things. It makes it a lot more cinematic. And I mean, there's just so much to really have to go over with this game particularly, that honestly, like, so many videos can be made. But obviously it's already been talked about. It's been like a bunch of years since Kingdom Hearts 2 came out. And the version we were talking about in this video is obviously the final mix, because there's obviously more stuff to add into the mix. But I genuinely think that this is what I can consider one of the top tiers of Kingdom Hearts. I will always love Kingdom Hearts 3, don't get me wrong. And obviously there's the other games. But Kingdom Hearts 2 really was one hell of a peak for Kingdom Hearts series, because it did so much. And it really is what I call the definition of the best PlayStation game. In my opinion, of course. I know some people are about to criticize me on that. But I just feel like Kingdom Hearts 2, for most that really started in Kingdom Hearts 2, I think there's nothing else they can really say other than it is peak. And for me, it is for sure one damn well made game. 10 out of fucking 10. No doubt about it. No arguments. It is a 10 out of 10. This is Gwingwarrior291 signing out. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give a like, comment what you thought of Kingdom Hearts 2, and subscribe. I will see y'all next time. Peace.